Hello, friends, and welcome back to the second episode in August, where we are delving deeper into self trust, understanding what it means and how we can work towards it, and things that keep us from getting there. But before that, this is 5 Minutes of Authenticity with Pritha. I'm your host, Pritha Lal. I am an authenticity life coach, and this space, friends, is dedicated purely to reflections, thoughts, ideas, and intentional conversations that I am so privileged to be inspired by with the people I work with. And the very act of life and living gives you enough reasons to reflect, I guess. So I choose this space to share that with you. And I'm always grateful for the feedback that I receive and for people who care to come back here. If you're here for the first time, welcome. I hope you'll stay. I hope you'll subscribe. And I hope you will go back and listen to some of the episodes because I keep referring to them back and forth as we pick a theme every month and they all tie together. We've been doing this since January. We are in August now. And today we get into the second episode on self-trust. And we talk about the micro betrayals, the small acts of distrust and betrayals that we face that erode self-trust. Now, self-trust, or this feeling of not feeling that I've got this despite the odds, it doesn't disappear in big dramatic moments. It just erodes away quietly in tiny everyday ways. Sometimes it could be because we have faced a lot of unkindness, where people have not trusted our abilities. I have talked about my selective mutism as a child in some of the previous episodes, but I did not speak in public for almost 7 years. It's interesting when you hear me speak today, it's all because of one teacher in my second grade who decided I was worth much more than my silence. So every time you say yes when your truth is saying no, every time you override your intuition because somebody else seems more certain, seems more confident, every time you ignore your body's signals, the tightness, the heaviness, the fatigue, the pain, every time you abandon your needs to avoid discomfort, every single time you deplete your energy, you give yourself, you become such an empath that you empty your cup, these are the micro betrayals. They're very small. They become a part of our everyday life and living. And as I've often mentioned this, when something becomes normal, no matter how uncomfortable we are in, we just take that as to be the truth. And so sometimes these micro betrayals are imposed on us because of the way people treat us. Maybe the way your team members or your classmates or community members have spoken to you in a certain situation, when it keeps repeating itself and you do not have a recourse, when you do not have something to hold on to, when you're facing this onslaught, we slowly chip away, we slowly shrink. These micro betrayals, however small, however invisible, they start to add up. But you know what? The body remembers. Each time you are pushed past your limits, it remembers. Every time you're silenced with your truth, when you're not allowed to speak, it remembers. Every time you choose for an external sense of peace and live with chaos inside, you are betraying yourself. But the good news is it's not gloom and doom, friends. You know that. This space is filled with positive vibes. That is something I am very, very clear about. And I know this for a fact. If you're listening to 5 Minutes of Authenticity with Pritha, I promise you, when you're done listening to an episode, you have a smile on your face. I just know it. I can guarantee that. But so if self-trust can erode in small ways, it can also be built and rebuilt in small ways. And today, let's not worry about that, but let's just notice, where have I been betraying myself in tiny habitual ways? Awareness is the first act of repair. We know this for any kind of an issue, right? The moment you're self-aware, that is the first step. I have a friend who's a wonderful writer. They're bilingual. But there are times they face a lot of self-doubt because of situations that are not even related to writing, but things that have happened in the past, and that causes them to spiral. Even though they know their writing is what gives them joy. So they're aware of where their self-trust gets eroded, But they also know that if they continue writing, maybe 15 minutes a day, it can be built. So what is your mechanism? Where do you find you have consciously or unconsciously eroded your self-trust? What do you feel that you do not feel that certain about? Where have you been betraying yourself? Be honest with yourself. Write it down somewhere. You don't have to share it with anyone. But let's come back next time and talk about rebuilding that trust. Until next time, this is Pritha. You were listening to 5 Minutes of Authenticity. Thank you, friends, for being here.